Hey guys, so I'm going to explain what, there's a cool bird of prey up there, good sign. I'm going to explain what a phase shift ET contact experience is, which is basically a shift to another dimension of reality. So I've heard this term going around, a phase shift ET contact experience, and I believe that relates to what I have experienced on numerous occasions. Well, about 3 occasions I can significantly think of. And so it's basically having contact with an extraterrestrial civilization from another dimension, another reality, and on their ship, because I think if they came here they'd come more into our dimension, perhaps, maybe not actually, I don't know, but they've all occurred on their ships for me, or the parts that I remember have occurred on their ships. So the 3 specific experiences I'm going to talk about, possibly 2, but it's happened to me like 3 times. And the first time I don't remember anything. The first time was in 2009. It was in the forest in the UK, not too far from here, a place called Chambers Farm Wood, if any of you know Lincolnshire. And so it was kind of a missing time experience. I actually don't remember anything, but I had this experience, like this spiritual awakening experience. But it happened again in 2009, where I basically had this phase, this period of missing time. 1 minute I'm in the forest feeling like I'm having this spiritual awakening experience. I start to see reality multidimensionally. I can see all different timelines laid out in front of me like TV screens. And the next thing I know, I seem to be in a different location in the forest. All the lighting has changed and there's all these fighter jets flying around my head. And so I had like what's called missing time in ufology. I didn't recognize the time had gone, but I was in a different place in the forest, and like a couple of weeks later I started to recall the experience I had in this kind of blank in my reality. And I went on a Yaya ship and met many beings that many of you have maybe heard me talk about, one being the 2.5 foot tall ladybird as we call them in the UK being. And my Yaya counterpart, and what I call a Mayan being, this guy with a wide head with like a space helmet on. And so I also had another experience where I'd been in London, and I'd been to the London Museum, and I really connected to a statue of Ra in the British Museum in London. And when I got back from London, I woke up, I think it was the night after or something like this. I remember waking up bolt upright in bed suddenly like this, and I'm thinking in my head, Ra's here, Ra's here, Ra's here. And that day I'd seen kind of this greeny blue light just go through the sky that I felt like was a ship. And then that night I suddenly woke up bolt upright in bed, and I was thinking, Ra's here, Ra's here, Ra's here, and I could feel that Ra's ship was up there outside. I didn't go look out the window, partly because I was kind of nervous, I think, but also like, I don't know, you don't act normal in these experiences. It's almost like the ETs are kind of like controlling you somewhat, which sounds kind of scary, but when you understand they're generally doing it, the beings I'm in contact with are always doing it for our own good, it becomes less nerve-wracking. I could feel like all these energy codes, I could see like symbols coming into my head. It was like Ra was beaming in them from the ship into my head. I could see all these symbols, like what some people might call light language, and I was getting all these upgrades and codes downloaded into me. And I don't really know what was downloaded into me, but I'm sure it helped with this spiritual expansion I've been going through for several years. And what are you doing, camera? Still getting used to this gimbal. And so what's occurring? And again, I didn't remember anything until a day or 2 later. I started to recall being on Ra's ship. And the way I saw Ra was he was like a disembodied head. He was just a head, this huge great head, quite human looking, in like a tank, like this cylindrical fish tank. Have you ever seen those, like sometimes they have them on display at aquariums, which is just like a huge cylindrical fish tank that goes up to the ceiling with loads of fish in? And it was kind of like that, and there was this liquid, and inside it there was this like kind of this disembodied head being supported by this liquid and like tubes coming out. Very bizarre. And of course Ra is a high dimensional being which can project his consciousness into many different forms, and this is how he presented himself to me. Also on his ship, I remember there were like screens. It was like a 2-tier ship. There was like kind of a balcony area on the 2nd level, and there was like all these like TV screens all the way around, and that's what I remember. And so what's occurring when I'm having these experiences is I'm shifting into another dimension or another density. So I can explain this, I'll just share a little bit about what I understand about the densities model of reality. It's kind of what people call higher dimensions, but it's a little bit more accurate, because I don't really like the term fifth dimension, because we're not actually, because fifth dimension is non-physical reality, and some people will say we're shifting into the fifth dimension, but we're not, because if we were shifting into the fifth dimension, we'd all leave our physical bodies and become non-physical spirit consciousness. But what's happening is we're kind of bringing fifth dimensional reality into physical reality, which is what is often called fourth density reality. This first came synchronistically from the Ra material, I believe. It might have come from material older than that. A few channels and books and that use the idea of densities. So just quickly, first density is rock, mineral life, like crystals, like I believe the elements like earth, air, fire and water, very basic reality. Second density is plant and animal life, like low second density is plant life, high second density is animal life. Third density is human reality, the experience we've been going for many thousands of years on earth, where we're kind of self-aware of ourselves. And fourth density is the density that a lot of the ETs are on. I believe the Yahyel are like high fourth density beings, or medium to high fourth density beings. And so they're kind of, it's kind of like, I don't think quasi-physical is the right word, because they're still very much in physical bodies, but it's kind of like in fourth density everything becomes more like a dream, more like it's very clear that we're just energy beings. You don't feel like you're a human body in a reality. You just feel like you're pure energy, and that pure energy is like a feeling of bliss and a feeling of intense joy and a feeling of very, very vibrant aliveness. It's like it's like your amplitude, like your electricity in your body has been turned up 100 times, and you just feel flipping amazing. So this is where we're going, guys. So this is good news. And I've experienced this on the ships, which I'll get to in a minute. Fifth density is non-physical, like true fifth dimensional reality, where we become non-physical beings. And like fourth density, it's all connected to the chakras. So fourth density, the density we're moving into, is a reality of unconditional love. Fifth density is, and like solar plexus, third density, is kind of a reality based on fear and like fight or flight and survival. And like fitting into the pack through our physical skills and through competition and survival of the fittest. It's a very third density energy to do with the solar plexus. Fourth density, where we're now shifting into, is a density of unconditional love, where we kind of just operate from unconditional love, and understand that when we're operating from unconditional love, we use the law of attraction, and we're naturally supported by creation, because we reflect back to us unconditional love, and we all like naturally flow with creation. Fifth density is when we move into the true fifth dimension, which is a non-physical consciousness, where we become non-physical beings. And fifth density is connected to the throat chakra and wisdom, and it's where we learn to like directly connect with like the intelligence of the universe to make our decisions. And then like sixth density is the blending of, it's like mastering the balance between unconditional love and compassion and the wisdom of the throat chakra. So it's kind of like the idea of like everything everyone goes through in life is like, even the most horrific circumstances is exactly what we need to evolve. So like the wisdom of the fifth density is like understanding that like when beings are going through very difficult circumstances, they're learning, they're expanding at a very high rate. So often we can have the wisdom just to kind of hands off, and when we see someone suffering, don't get too desperate to help them out of their circumstance, because we can understand that perhaps it's something they have to go through that is going to radically shift their consciousness to a higher level. But fourth density is to do with unconditional love and compassion, and this is where we just want to help people. You know, when we see someone suffering, we just like feel so much love for them that we just want to help them out of that. But as we move to sixth density, it's about the balance of wisdom and love, and learning when to use compassion and help them, and when to be like more hands off, kind of in the understanding that they're going through something they need to go through. So these are these are some of the last lessons of the manifest reality, learning to get the fine balance correct between compassion and love, and the wisdom of knowing you know when it's the best to service to like, you know, be more hands off. And obviously it's a lot deeper than this, but these are just a couple of examples of how to balance love and wisdom. And so seventh density is really when we merge back into source, into God, and become one with creation. and then I think the cycle begins again on another octave in another universe, like when we complete seventh density, when we've dwelled in the bliss of God and source consciousness for an eternity, however long that is, which we can't wrap our heads around from the physical plane. At some point we dissolve back into what we might call eighth density, which is the void, the absolute, kind of like the source of all creation, and then rebirth as a new universe in a new octave of first density reality. But we're a long way off that, so don't worry too much about that right now. Trillions of years, linearly speaking. Those souls, we can, like, you know, skip octaves and skip dimensions and realities, and I believe a lot of us have like incarnations in high sixth density reality and have just chosen here to come here at this time. But so now you understand what these densities and dimensions are. I believe like Ra is a high sixth density being. And the way I see Ra is kind of like the creator of our universe. It came through somehow, but it might be more that because originally Ra was the sun god, and if he is the sun god, if he is the sun, he would be the creator of our galaxy, because the sun is like the god of our galaxy. But perhaps like Ra has evolved more now to he's like the central sun of our universe now, and so Ra is actually connected to the creative principle of our universe. This is what I felt when I was channeling him and connecting with him around August, about 4 years ago, when I had this contact experience with Ra. So Ra is a high sixth density being, so it's very much non-physical. It's very much a reality very different to ours. And the Yael are fourth density beings, so it's more relatable to us. They still have physical bodies, but they both exist in a dimension of reality that is radically different to ours. And so this is what a phase shift contact experience is, from my understanding. I mean, I'm really just relaying my experiences here and my understanding, so people might use the term phase shift to mean something else. But I've heard this term going around, so I think this is probably what they're talking to, because we're shifting to a new phase of reality, I guess. So it's shifting to a new dimension of reality. And so what happens when we have these contact experiences, and all of my contact experiences, I've not been conscious of them. Like I know something's happened, like particularly the one in the forest here in the UK, because like I had like this missing time, and I knew something had happened, because 1 minute I'm in one place in the forest, next minute I didn't realise I was in another place at the forest initially, but I'm now fairly certain I was, due to the way I came back onto the path. But like I was turned round and the lighting was completely different, the sun was in my face, I was stood in a prone position like this, and there's all these fighter jets flying around my head, and it was perfect silence just an instant before. And after a while it dawned on me that I probably had a contact experience, and that was the reason I was being tracked by the UK military in their fighter jets. So I'm thinking about putting a Freedom of Information Act in to request to see if I can get the documents that would back up my claim. Who knows, it could be a bit of fun trying, couldn't it, guys? And because obviously it's on record somewhere at the military bases around here, because they scrambled all their jets, although sometimes these files tend to get lost, like the Rendlesham Forest, but that's another story. So this is the phase shift contact experience, and I don't know 100% why we forget it, why it gets blacked out. It's probably something to do with the fact that it'll be very difficult to integrate back into reality, because kind of when you've had this experience, you know that life is just infinite bliss, infinite unconditional love, that we have nothing to fear, because we'll always be supported by God and creation, and life is always supporting us. And it might be kind of tempting just to like just sit back and like, okay, everything's fine, reality is not what I thought it is, so I'm just going to do nothing for the rest of my life, because like this plane is ridiculous, and like, what are these humans doing? Because it's kind of like that. And so perhaps like we get too disoriented, we get too ungrounded, it would be difficult to reintegrate into this reality, I think. And it is anyway after these experiences, even just recalling them in meditation, because and just what you remember energetically from the before and after the experiences, because you go into bliss, you go into euphoria, you go into like an ecstasy, and you feel, and it's beyond that, words don't even explain it. You feel this energy in your body, everything becomes more bright, everything becomes more vivid, everything becomes more colourful. It's basically like you're living in heaven. And like when you have these experiences and you're like, yes, I'm enlightened, I feel amazing, and then you come back to physical reality and everyone's like depressed as hell. relatively. You know, it seems like that, even like the normal people, it feels like that compared to these high frequencies you experience. And it's like, holy shit, how am I going to live in this earth for the rest of my life? These people are insane. Get me out of here. And it can kind of be a bit like this. And I think this is kind of one of the reasons, like either the ETs do something so we don't remember it, or it's some kind of natural process to do with the way our psychology works, because we have like really no datum points. Like, it's so different in their dimension of reality, their experience of reality, like just kind of being in this dimension where you're just part of the reality part. It feels like you're part of this eternal dream of bliss, just riding the wave of joy and bliss and ecstasy forevermore through the abundance of creation. And life is just like a game. It's very much like a game from that perspective, the most amazing game ever known to man. And then you come back here and it's very hard to integrate. So it might be something to do with our psychology, the reason why we don't remember these experiences till afterwards. And I think the more I have these experiences, and I'll begin to acclimatize, and hopefully at some point I'm going to be able to have these experiences and be conscious while they happen. So I'm not recalling the memories in meditation. So this is a phase shift ET contact experience. It's basically where we go into their density of reality, and it's kind of like living in a complete another dimension, and it's very, very different to us. Like I've heard people say, like, it can feel like a dream at first, but over time it will become more real, more integrated. And it's definitely kind of like a dream, but I wouldn't even say it's like a dream, because it's more vivid than a dream. It's more energized than a dream. It's more visceral. I don't know what the word is. It's more palpable than a dream. It's like a dream times 10. Like, it's like and it's more like being in a movie or a video game, or it's like words can't really describe it in this reality. So it is kind of like a dream, I guess. But the way I felt like it had, I felt like I died and gone to heaven, and I've never had a near-death experience. Hopefully I don't. but I feel that's what it like. That's the best way I could relate to it. Like I went to heaven. I died, went to heaven, which was the ship, the Ariel ship. Because I remember more of this. This is more conscious, because like the experience on Ra's ship was such a high dimension of reality. It was really kind of hard to integrate, and like to the degree. But like the Ariel experience, the fourth density ship experience, it was like the best way I can describe it was like I died, went to heaven, went into bliss, went into the amazing dimensions of heaven, then just got reinserted in reality, and I was back on Earth. With the fun and games of Earth. So this is what I understand a phase shift ET contact experience to be. So if you want to learn more about this, if you want to learn to have your own phase shift contact experiences, I have a course starting in July. So check out the link below, join my ET contact training course, learn about phase shift contact, learn to do like what some people call CE5 contact meditations to zone the ships into our reality, learn to connect with the ETs in dream time, learn to connect with them in meditation, learn to channel, learn telepathic communication, learn everything we need to understand, from my understanding, to make ET contact. If you're excited to join my course, check out the link in the box below, and I shall see you in there. Peace, love, light, and Shabbat.